Chapter 7. The End of the Journey. We were alive, and happy to be alive. But what would Captain Nemo do now, I thought? Would we go back to the Pacific, or would we travel towards the Atlantic? I soon realized that the Nautilus was sailing towards South America, and on April the 16th we saw the islands of Martinique and Guadeloupe in the Caribbean. We had travelled for 17,000 leagues, and I thought that the journey would never end. On April the 20th, we passed the Bahamas and we sailed towards America. Later that morning, Ned Land pointed to something out at sea, and 5 minutes later, the Nautilus was surrounded by hundreds of small octopuses. "I have heard of giant octopuses that can drag a ship down to the bottom of the sea," said Conseil. "Do you believe in giant octopuses?" "No, I don't," answered Ned Land. Just then, out of the window, we saw something very big. "Look, a giant octopus," said Conseil. We couldn't believe our eyes. The octopus was enormous. It was about 12 meters long and was swimming towards the submarine very quickly. It had huge green eyes and 8 long tentacles. It had its mouth open, and we could see its large, sharp teeth. At that moment, the Nautilus stopped, and the captain came into the museum looking worried. "One of the octopus's tentacles is stuck in the propeller," he said. "We will have to kill it." All the sailors went up to the platform on top of the submarine, and before anyone could do anything, the octopus picked up a sailor and lifted him into the air. "Help! Help!" he cried. Captain Nemo and the other sailors cut off 7 of the octopus's tentacles, but the last tentacle was in the air holding the poor sailor. Just then, the octopus sprayed a huge cloud of black liquid. We couldn't see anything, and when the liquid disappeared, the monster wasn't there. Captain Nemo stood still and looked out to sea. He was crying because one of his sailors was dead. We had now been on the Nautilus for 7 months, and we were travelling up the coast of America. I decided to speak to Captain Nemo about when we would be free. I knocked on his door and went inside. The captain was working at his desk. "I would like to speak to you, Captain," I said. "But I'm busy, Mr. Aronnax," he replied. "Captain," I said, "we have now been on your submarine for 7 months. I would like to know when you will let us leave the Nautilus. When will we be free?" "Mr. Aronnax," he said, "I have the same answer now as I gave you 7 months ago. Whoever enters the Nautilus never leaves it." I told Conseil and Ned what the captain had said. "Well, we must escape," said Ned Land, "as soon as possible, as soon as the weather is good." However, on May the 18th there was a storm, and we had to travel east. We left the sea near New York and sailed towards England, and on May the 30th we saw Land's End. Later that day I heard a loud explosion. "What was that noise?" "A gunshot," answered Ned Land. We were on the platform, and I looked out to sea. I saw a large warship which was about 10 kilometers away. It was sailing very quickly towards us. I heard another shot, and a cannonball landed in the water close to the submarine. "Why are they firing at us?" asked Conseil. "Maybe they think we are the narwhale," I said. Just then, Captain Nemo came onto the platform and said, "Go downstairs. All of you go down into the submarine." "What are you going to do, Captain?" said Ned Land. "I have no choice but to attack and destroy the warship," he said. We all went down into the submarine, and it went under the waves. However, it didn't go down to the bottom of the sea, but it stayed just under the surface. The captain pressed a button, and the Nautilus started to go faster and faster towards the warship. Suddenly, it hit the warship and went straight through it. The enormous warship started to sink, and I could see all the sailors drowning in the sea. I felt terrible because I couldn't do anything to help them. The warship disappeared under the water and sank to the bottom of the ocean. Captain Nemo went to his room. I could see him and saw that he was looking at a photograph of a young woman and two small children. He started to cry and kissed the photograph. Later that evening, I saw that the Nautilus was going through the English Channel. I couldn't sleep that night and thought about the terrible things Captain Nemo had done. The next morning Ned Land came to see me. "We are going to escape tonight," he whispered. "Yes, Ned, we will go tonight," I said. "The sea is rough and the wind is strong, but we will take the small boat and row to the shore. We will leave at 10 o'clock, he said. "I will be ready," I said. Later that evening, I put on my warm clothes and boots and lay down on my bed. I thought about everything that had happened on board the Nautilus. Hunting near Crespo Island, Torres Strait, the natives of Papua New Guinea, the Red Sea Tunnel, the Mediterranean, Santorini, Atlantis, the South Pole, the giant octopus and the sinking of the warship. All of these things went through my mind as I thought about escaping. At 10 o'clock, I left my room, walked quickly through the museum room and met Ned Land and Conseil in the library. "Let's go," I said, and we climbed up the iron ladder. Suddenly, the Nautilus started to spin around and around. I realized that we were caught in a whirlpool. We climbed onto the platform and tried to get into the small boat. The Nautilus was spinning around and around, and I knew that we wouldn't escape. Just then, there was a huge crash and a terrible noise. I hit my head on the iron platform and lost consciousness. I don't know what happened next, but when I woke up, I was lying in a fisherman's hut on an island near Norway. Conseil and Ned Land were there. We were all safe. It is here that I decided to write the story of our adventures under the sea. I don't know what happened to Captain Nemo and the Nautilus. Is he still alive? Did the Nautilus survive? Or was it destroyed in the whirlpool? Maybe we will never know.